Okay, loosening the brake drum. Sometimes if the brake drum doesn't come off easily, you can get some bolts, screw them into these holes, and tighten the bolts. So I was not able to easily remove the brake drum. I couldn't adjust the adjuster thing to loosen the brake pads from the rotor or the drum. So I had to cut the brake drum in half to take it off. Yeah. So I knocked out the 6 short studs. So they using a hammer, and I'll show you how to pull in the last bolt stud. So you take your stud. So this is the stud, two oversized nuts, and your washer, your lug nut. Now to tighten it down, you can see the wheel stud is slowly being pulled in. Okay, it's done. So to swap out your wheel studs, you need to remove your manual locking hub or your locking hub. Remove the snap ring. Remove these 6 bolts. And to keep the rotor from spinning, place a screwdriver down here. So, and then you can remove the spindle locking washer. Then you can remove the spindle nut, and then you can pull this out and the washer will fall out. And before you take this whole thing off, you can hammer out the wheel studs. It's easy to do it this way. Hammer out the wheel studs. So knock out the studs with the hammer. Okay. Be careful if you want to reuse the studs. So I removed the manual locking hub cover, the snap ring. Now I can remove the manual locking hub. I already removed the 6 bolts that hold the spindle to here. And now to remove these 2 Phillips head screws. And then this piece pulls off. So it pulls off the axle nut. It's not on tight. This is a spindle nut socket. So I want to prop this up without damaging these ABS inductor rings. So on the left are studs from the rear of a Nissan R50 Pathfinder, and then the stud on the right, the wheel stud on the right, is from the front of the Nissan R50 Pathfinder. So I removed the short one, and I'm going to install the longer one from the rear so that I can use wheel spacers, because these are longer. So I loosely put in the wheel studs, put this part back on, insert the bearing. You can repack your bearing if you want with more oil. And this needs to be torqued down to 60 foot-pounds. And then backed off and then preloaded to 8 inch-pounds. 60 foot-pounds. To back it off. Inch-pound wrench. Seven-inch-pound. So I torqued down the spindle nut to 60 foot-pounds. Then I loosened it. Then I set a preload of 7 inch-pounds, which looks like that. And then you might have to do this a few times, but you should have this lock washer be able to line up with the nut, one of the holes in the nut. But you can only install the lock washer in one way because it has some notches. So once the lock washer is inserted, and it's it'll keep the spindle nut from loosening by securing the lock washer to the spindle nut using 2 Phillips head screws. So the wheel bearing has, first it was compressed to 60 foot-pounds, then loosened. So the compression is so that the wheel bearings sit fully, and then the spindle nut is loosened and set to 7 inches of load against the wheel bearing, so that way when this whole assembly spins, there's not too much resistance or too much looseness. So 7 inch-pounds. So now to pull in the studs using heavy-duty nut and a long lug nut. Lug nut is slowly, the wheel stud slowly being pulled in. Okay, all the way in. And repeat the process for the 6 other wheel studs.